Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Level Up English podcast, the best place to come to practice the English language, learn about the British accent and culture with me, your host, Michael Lavers. Hope you're all having a fantastic week. And yeah, what I said about the podcast is absolutely true. It's the best place to come to learn English. And if you come here, you will be smarter and better. And I suppose I'm not very good at this, am I? I'm not very good at advertising my own podcast, but that's kind of what I want to talk about in today's episode is advertisements or advertising, right? And I will be totally honest with all of you. I've had this in my notes for quite some time, more than 6 months, I would say, this idea to make an episode on advertising. And it was originally a request from a listener, from one of you who I hope you're still listening, by the way. But yeah, the reason that I put it off, which means I delayed it, is just because it's not something I'm super passionate about. I'm not like super excited to talk about advertising. But then when I started planning, when I started thinking of what I could say, I got quite excited. So I never really want to talk about something that I don't find interesting because I think if I'm interested in the topic, it will be more interesting for you as well. That's my idea. Yeah, I kind of feel like I've turned it into an interesting topic now. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking quite a bit about different advertising slogans and why they work so well. And there'll be some English language stuff that we can learn from these, maybe even some psychology stuff as well. I think there could be a lot to take away from this episode. So I do hope that you're ready and you're excited because I am now also excited as well. And I guess the first thing to mention would be the word advertisement. I mean, there are many different forms. Advertise is the verb. I want to advertise my website, for example. The only difference here is in US English, it has a Z. British English, it has a S. The spelling is different. So you advertise. Advertising could be a verb, but also it could be a noun, like especially referring to jobs. Like I work in advertising. I work in advertising. So that is a gerund, a noun in that case. And the other noun is a bit more confusing. So when we're talking about one specific area of advertising, like you see a poster, that's one form of advertising, and the poster is trying to get you to drink Coca-Cola, we can call that a few different things. It could be an advertisement. And here's where it might be confusing because in American English, they will say advertisement. So that sounds a bit more like the verb here, doesn't it? Advertisement. It's more consistent. But in British English, the stress is different. Advertisement. Advertisement. So the ver is stressed in British English. But if that's too challenging, it's quite simple because you can shorten it, as we often do in speech, to advert. Advert. Oh, did you see the advert about Michael's website? Interesting. And I don't know, some of you might be thinking, no, even that word is too hard, Michael. I don't like the word advert. Then we can shorten it even more to ad. That's right. That's it. Just AD, pronounced ad. So I saw an amazing ad the other day for this product. Amazing ad. Right. So very simple way. And I guess one last form is another American word is commercial. I saw a TV commercial. It's the same meaning, but we do not say commercial in British English. Only advert, ad, advertisement. Lots of words, but it's all the same, so don't get too confused. And as I said, I want to look in a little bit more detail today at some clever advertising slogans. Some clever slogans used in advertisements. And a slogan is basically just a short and memorable phrase often used in advertising. Many organizations and businesses will have slogans, which helps you remember their product or their service more easily. It's a bit different from the word motto. Motto is kind of similar. You might know that word. Like a university or an educational institution might have a motto, which might be something like, always work hard. And a motto is not really about advertising. It's more about reminding people of the values of that institution. I could say that the motto of Level Up English, what do you think it would be if we had a motto? Maybe my motto could be, English should be fun. English should be fun. It's a nice reminder and it highlights what I believe is true. But a slogan, on the other hand, is more for advertising. It's more for persuading people to give you their money, I would say. So I don't really have a slogan for Level Up English. When I first started the website, I did have a slogan, and I've kind of already forgotten what it was. I think one slogan I had before was, everything you need to learn English in one place. Something like that on my website. Another slogan I used to have was, English for busy people, something a bit like that as well. I wanted to try to make it appealing to busy people. And yeah, I can't even, I think I had another one that I can't even remember, but I don't know, maybe I would benefit from having a slogan, but I just don't feel like it would be that useful for my website or for my work. But if you have any slogan suggestions, please let me know. But yeah, a famous example would be Nike or Nike, however you want to pronounce it. And this is the slogan, just do it. I think everyone knows this one, right? Just do it. It's a very motivational but simple slogan from Nike. And there are many ways to make a good slogan. Some of these we will look at today as well. I suppose if a slogan is really successful, it will also drum up some business for your business. It will drum up business for your business. Sounds a bit weird, but I suppose that does make sense. To drum up, like hitting a drum sound effect here. Drum up is to try to do something to increase support or attention in the thing that you want. So I see this all the time. I mean, I feel like compared to the UK, Thailand is crazy when it comes to advertising and marketing. There's always companies with signs, people giving out free samples. Even just on the street, there will be like people with like a tray of cookies to give you. All this, like, people are really, really competitive and quite pushy, which means, very aggressive in trying to promote their products. I suppose there's a lot of competition here, I suppose. And yeah, one thing that I often see outside the station that I go to frequently is people try to drum up interest in their business by giving out free samples. And honestly, I always say no. It even happens in Starbucks here. Like if you go to a cafe or Starbucks, something like that, people will come by with free samples of cookies or cakes. And I think the idea is they want to give you a little bit so that you will go, oh, this is really nice. Let me buy some more, right? And I always just say no, thank you. If I wanted to buy a cake, I would buy a cake. I'm that like grumpy old man that I don't want to try your cookie. But this is one method of drumming up business. You could also use this phrase for support, drumming up support. If you are protesting for a political thing or environmental thing or something like that, you want to make a change in the government, you might have to drum up support by doing something nice to get people on your side. I suppose one example is social media. People might use social media to drum up support and excitement. You can drum up excitement for their cause, right? If you're doing a protest, drum it up on social media. So there are a few words here that I think we can cover before we continue into the slogan part of today. I hope it's not too many words to cover. But the next one I thought could be good is plug. This is getting more common in modern life, to plug something. And I think the reason this is so common is because it happens a lot, especially during like a podcast or a video or some kind of interview. But this is usually when you promote something, like your product or something you want to talk about. And yeah, I think it's a very common podcasting word. So this is something that I spend a lot of time thinking about, is the balance of how much to plug the stuff that I do. Because I think there's a fine line between annoying people and also sharing the work that you're doing that people might be interested in. So, I obviously work very hard on my website, Level Up English Members. I make a lot of content there. I try my best to make it a really enjoyable place for people to be and learn and improve their English. And I'm quite excited to talk about it. But on the other hand, I'm also worried that, especially if you're a new listener and you don't know who I am, hearing me talk about this thing that you have to pay for all the time is maybe quite off-putting. It's maybe not a nice thing to hear, and it's not super enjoyable. So I really try to find a balance between plugging things too much. And at the moment, I'm kind of leaning towards plugging less. I don't know if maybe long-term listeners might notice a change, but I try not to plug as much as I used to. And this isn't because I've had any feedback. It's just my own idea that, I don't know, maybe if you like what I do and you really appreciate the content I make, maybe you will find yourself to the website anyway and support me there. And maybe I don't need to talk about it every day. I don't know. I still don't really have the answer, but again, maybe you can give me your ideas as well. But another example of plugging is whenever I have a podcast guest once a month, I always make sure there's time at the end to plug what they do, because it can be quite scary and you feel a bit selfish, self-centered to talk about yourself. But I always want to make sure that the guest can plug their business, their work, so that if people are interested, they can find this person online, basically. So it's always nice to allow your guest to plug themselves, I would say. And then we have two more words that are quite similar. So the first word is buzz, to buzz. Buzz is a noun, and it's very similar to the word excitement. And I don't know the exact origin of this meaning, but maybe this is correct, because I always imagine it comes from bees. And maybe this is true, right? Because the sound that a bee makes is buzz. It's buzz. And if you ever watch a bee going from flower to flower, they are very busy. That's why we call them busy bees. And that they're buzzing around, very busy, very hard at work, almost in a very excited way. I suppose you can make that connection there. So if there is a lot of buzz around something, that means there's a lot of excitement or attention around, for example, a product or an event or something like that. So at the time of recording this, there's recently been a new, what could we say, a reveal or showcase of some Apple products. Apple has released iOS 26 and they're talking all about it. I was just hearing about it a little while ago. And, I'm not super interested, but I might like to see if anything there affects me. And I guess usually, especially in certain areas, there's a lot of buzz around this new kind of update time when you have new phones coming to the market and new software updates. There's a lot of buzz around this kind of stuff because for many people, their phone is the most important item they own. And if it can be improved in some way, of course, that can be quite exciting. But yeah, maybe let me know if you agree. Do you have that buzz for new technology and software? Are you one of those people? Because I know a lot of people are. And if you are, you might also have a lot of hype about it. Hype is very similar to the word buzz, Hype. Hype is, again, excitement, lots of talking about something, often before something happens. So again, I'm going to plug myself a little bit here. At the time of recording, I have a new thing in Level Up English coming up soon called Level 3 Members, which is a new membership plan. It's going to allow me to talk with the students much more, how can we say, much more independently and give you some one-to-one attention in our private coaching and stuff like that. And I'm hoping that maybe I'm building some hype around this. That's my hope here. So hype can come in two ways. I can build up hype as let's say the business owner. I can build up hype and give you like trailers and advertisements and announcements to make you feel excited. And if that is successful, you will feel hype, right? You will feel the hype. It's often used in movies as well. Maybe there are some upcoming films that you want to see, and there's a lot of hype about it. Everyone's talking about it, and it must be very exciting. And if you see the film and it's very good, you can say that film lived up to the hype. That means it matched your expectations. Otherwise, you can say, it didn't really live up to the hype. In other words, it was worse than I thought. Right? It didn't live up to the hype. So there we have a few words that you might find interesting. Just to recap, we have slogan, drum up, plug, buzz, hype. Some good ones there. Hopefully some were new for you that you might take away today. That could be good. Okay, let's get into the slogans part of today. I did quite a bit of research for this one, trying to find the best slogans from different businesses around the world to share with you today. And these are ones that I think are quite interesting and fun. Hopefully you agree as well. It was quite hard to find some good ones to talk about. And with each one, we might have some English to review as well. So I actually think... should I share this one first? Okay. This is one of my favorites, but I think despite that, I will share it first because it's a good one. This is from a company called Dollar Shave Club. I wish they were sponsoring me, but they're not. So I'm just shouting them out for free, I suppose. But it's a shaving company. I suppose they sell razors and stuff like that. And they have or had a slogan called Shave Time, Shave Money. I think this is one of the smartest slogans I've ever heard. It's simple, it's memorable, it's short, there's repetition, shave, shave, and it's clear. And if it's not clear to you, I can explain what this means because it does have some quite smart English, like a play on words here that you might have missed. So to shave has more than one meaning. One meaning is just like I need to do today, shave your hair, shave your face with a razor, for example, shave your legs, shaving your hair. So of course that is their whole business. They are a company that helps you shave and groom your body. And it also has another meaning though, shave. It's a little bit like the word save, and that rhyme, it sounds very similar. I think that's just a coincidence, but shaving is kind of like making something shorter, right? If you shave your hair, you're cutting your hair to make it shorter. And it works in a similar way for time. If you're shaving time, that means you're cutting time shorter. So maybe you found there's a shortcut on the way to work. So rather than taking 20 minutes to drive to work, you can go through the shortcut and it only takes 10 minutes. So that means you have shaved 10 minutes off your morning commute. Very good time-saving advice there. So shaving time is just like saving time. And of course, shaving money is the same. You can do something to stop spending so much money. You're saving money. So you're shaving your body, you're shaving time, and you're shaving money. So in this slogan, they're telling you two big things that their product will do for you. which will take less time, which is great because this body grooming stuff is always annoying. It takes so long. And it's so expensive. If you go to buy a shaver from the supermarket, they're so expensive. So maybe this company could help. I've never bought from them and I don't want to, just to be honest. So I'm not supporting what they're saying. I'm not agreeing with them necessarily, but according to them, that's what will happen. So very, very smart slogan. I hope you agree. Let's go to another one now. We don't have too many, so I hope it will be interesting and not too tedious to hear my whole list. The next one is the famous, well-known bank, HSBC. And their slogan was the world's local bank. Again, fairly simple. I think a lot of these slogans, when they are successful, it's often because they're simple, they're easy to remember, and the meaning is clear, it's not too complicated, it's not forgettable. So I think it's no coincidence that many of these slogans are quite short. But what's interesting about this one is there is something known as an oxymoron. That's kind of a hard English grammatical kind of word that isn't that useful in day-to-day life, but if you're kind of a language nerd, it might be fun to learn. An oxymoron is when we have two things that come together that, I suppose, contradict each other. Another example of an oxymoron is the phrase deafening silence. Deafening silence. And it does make sense in some way, because what we're saying here is the silence was so quiet that you couldn't hear anything else. It was like incredibly silent. It's emphasizing the silence. But if you think literally, it is an oxymoron because silent is quiet, deafening is very loud. So literally, it doesn't make sense. It's a paradox in a way. So the world's local bank, right? World means it's global, but local means it's just where you live. So these things don't really go together, but they've put them together in quite a smart way because I suppose it gives the feeling that it's a global bank all around the world, which means it's convenient. Wherever you live, you can have, bank support and easily get your money. And yet it's also local because maybe that means two things. Like, first of all, there's always one near where you live. It's local to you. And also it's local in the way that it conducts its business. That could be another way to see it, right? That even though they are a huge international company, they might have a local feeling. They might not feel like, a lot of these big businesses, maybe Apple and Amazon, it might be quite hard to contact the customer support, but maybe what this slogan is suggesting is it doesn't feel that way. You can talk to a real human, you can get help when you need it. Possibly. That's a feeling that I get from it anyway. The world's local bank. If you know of any more oxymorons to share, let me know, because there's quite a fun and advanced way to be creative with English when you get to that level. Okay, let's go to a very famous one next, which I imagine you've heard before. Let me know if you have this one in your country as well, or I wonder if they translate it in other languages. I have no idea if slogans are translated. But this is, I'm loving it. You know what company this is? This is, of course, McDonald's, right? McDonald's, I'm loving it. Again, super simple. I don't know, I suppose it doesn't have as much meaning to me as the previous two. Like, it doesn't really tell me much about what they do. It doesn't tell me much about their values as a company or anything like that. But it just has a feeling of positivity. You love something. And I guess one more thing to note here is, well, first of all, loving is shortened to lovin'. The G is gone, which I guess gives it a casual spoken English feeling, which maybe says something about their attitude, maybe. And also, I don't know, maybe you might have noticed that loving is not really, it's not grammatically correct. We don't tend to put like states or likes and dislikes in a continuous form in English. Because we say, you might say, I'm driving a car, but if it's a state, like own, you don't say, I am owning a car. I don't know if your language is the same, but in English, we say, I own a car, because own is a state, it's not an action. Love is a bit similar. I say, I love you, but I don't say, I am loving you. It doesn't, it's understandable, but it's just not natural, because love is not something that turns on and off quite that easily. So I suppose what I found interesting about this slogan is this was such a successful slogan that people started using this more and more. This is actually what was taught to me in school. My teacher taught me about this slogan. So I'm just kind of I'm echoing what my teacher said all those years ago. And yeah, basically, before this slogan, people didn't use this phrase that much, I suppose, even though it's before my time. And now because of this slogan, people use this much more. Like, yeah, I'm really loving this song. Oh, I'm loving the atmosphere here. And it's just a more casual way to say that you like something or you love something. And I suppose it gives the feeling that you're loving it right now. It's emphasizing that it's happening right now, rather than a general feeling of love all the time. So again, I'm not sure if this would be considered correct. I don't think it's grammatically correct, but it's very, very accepted these days. It's become more accepted. So I wouldn't recommend writing, I'm loving it, but in speech, it's quite common these days. And I think I would be very curious to see if there was like a study that showed if this slogan had a big effect on this grammar in English. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, we have 3 more now, so bear with me. I hope you're enjoying it anyway. The next one is, it's an American company that I'm starting to see more and more in the UK, Thailand. It seems to be spreading around the world quite slowly, and this is Taco Bell, the Mexican chain restaurant, fast food chain in the US. I've never tried it. I've never been there. I've seen it near me, but it's so expensive that I think, why would I go pay so much money for food that is not super healthy anyway? That's my presumption anyway. So yeah, I'm definitely not getting any sponsors from this episode after all of my negative comments today, but we'll see. But anyway, their slogan was, think outside the bun. Okay, I think this is one of my favorites today, top 3 for sure, for how smart it is. I do prefer it to the previous 2. Think outside the bun. So you may realize this sounds quite familiar. It sounds similar to an English expression, an idiom, that is think outside the box. So think outside the box is another way of just saying think differently. So try to view a problem or situation from a different perspective in a different way. Rather than thinking in this little tiny box, widen your perspective to view the problem from different angles. Think outside the box. So that's a very useful expression in itself. And a lot of businesses, especially a lot of successful businesses, have reached their success because they are thinking outside the box. They're doing something differently that helps them stand out from their competitors, right? And the only other difference in this slogan is they used the word bun. A bun is one of the words for the bread that goes around a burger. So I suppose this is what we consider traditional fast food, especially in the US. When you go to most restaurants, again, I honestly don't really eat fast food, but I guess McDonald's, KFC, Burger King, all these kind of places, these big chains, they mostly sell burgers. I think burger is their main dish, I don't know if that's the right word, but main option to choose from, right? But yeah, Taco Bell's a bit different because they sell tacos and Mexican-inspired options. So they are saying think outside the bun because they're thinking differently to, rather than using a burger bun, they're selling different types of foods like tacos and probably something else that I don't know. I have no idea what they sell, honestly. But yeah, I think it's quite a smart one. They're using that common expression in their own slogan. Okay, the next one is from Apple. Apple. I mean, I feel like I have to mention them because it's such a huge company, and their slogan is super simple: think different. Right? Very simple one. I think it's quite a good slogan. I guess the main aspect to it, the main feature, is that it's minimalist. It's simple. Think different. 2 words, 3 syllables, very, very short, easy to say. It's not complicated. It's not difficult to understand, just like their products. So I think a really good slogan will also be a reflection of the products or services that the company provides. So, I question some of the decisions Apple have made recently. Like, to me, the reason why I like Apple products is because they are simple. They're easy to use. They're not overwhelming. The interface is simple and attractive. I think recently they've been making things more complicated and less simple. So there are some things that I dislike about it, but again, I'm not a big technology fanboy, so I suppose I can get on with it. I can ignore it, But I think this goes back to the main original idea behind Apple, is that simplicity, minimalist, think different. And of course, looking at the meaning, it also makes sense. At least Apple likes to think that they are unique, that they do things differently. I think in many ways they do. They do a lot of things that are quite surprising at first, but then later on catch on, and other companies start copying Apple, the features that they do. I mean, I think we all know, anyone who is familiar with Apple kind of has the feeling that it's often not true. Apple might claim to think different, but in reality, a lot of the features they release have already existed on other phones in the past. So it's not exactly think different, but for sure, Apple does popularize many features, even if they did exist previously on other devices. But yeah, it's kind of a nice slogan anyway. It kind of encapsulates, which means it represents what they stand for, I suppose. Okay, one more now. Last one. I think we're finishing on a good one. This will also make it into my top 3. And this is from the beer company, Stella Artois. Stella Artois, which is reassuringly expensive. I think this is again, very simple. We've got an adverb, reassuringly, adjective, expensive. And I think this catches your attention, which is another great feature of a slogan, because it's not what you expect. I think this is successful because it flips a common assumption. So your assumption is that cheaper is better. And of course, companies also think the same. Why would a company advertise that their product is not cheap? And I think the only reason is because they believe their product is high quality, and therefore it justifies the higher price. So it doesn't say anything about quality. I mean, if they wanted to, they could just say good quality beer. That could be a slogan, but it's not smart, it's not memorable, it's not funny. It's a very forgettable slogan. This slogan says exactly that. It has the implication, hidden meaning, that they have high quality beer. So reassuringly means you feel relieved. Like, phew, like it's expensive. And I suppose there are many beers that are super, super cheap. And when you find anything very cheap, like technology, food, drinks, you think, why is it so cheap? Like, it looks really good, but the fact that it's so cheap, I find very suspicious. I think many of us will do this. We will avoid buying the cheapest option because we assume the quality will be bad. I think usually that's going to be true, I guess. But it's kind of funny how that purchasing psychology works, right? So they, of course, know this aspect of psychology. So they said it's reassuringly expensive. So again, it's implying they have quality, and also it might be more memorable or noticeable because it's kind of shocking. Like, whoa, expensive? Why are they advertising that? And then I suppose it makes you think about it for a second, which is exactly what a good slogan should do. So there we go. There's my list. I will also write these up on the show notes page at levelupenglish.school/podcast333, a number that I always have trouble pronouncing quickly. But yeah, I'll write it up there, and maybe you can let me know which slogan is your favorite. And possibly you even know of another slogan that you could share with me that I haven't mentioned today. I'd love to hear what that would be for you as well. So let me know what you think. And just to finish up, I've got a very fun section that should take 1 minute. And I asked ChatGPT to give me some slogans for Level Up English. And I couldn't really think of one at the beginning, but let's see what they came up with. So this one's quite good. Grammar without the groan. Grammar without the groan. I wouldn't choose this one personally because I like to think the podcast is more than just grammar, but it is a very, very smart slogan. A groan is this noise. It's kind of like that annoyed, frustrated sound that you make, like an annoying sigh. Like groaning. That's a groan. So grammar without the groan. So it kind of implies that we're looking at grammar in a fun way. And I think that the best part of this slogan is there is alliteration, a little bit like the word oxymoron. This is another linguistic term. Alliteration is when we have the same sound repeated in a phrase. So grammar, groan. We have g, g. Two examples of the same sound, g. Another one that it gave, level up your language 1 episode at a time. I like it. Yeah, I don't think it's super smart. It doesn't have some hidden meaning, I suppose, but it says exactly what you're going to do. Level up your language. Again, alliteration, level language, 1 episode at a time. I suppose that also tells you that I make episodes. It tells you what I do. So quite a good one. I think I would prefer that one. That's my favorite so far. The next one is serious English, casual vibe. I don't think it quite sounds as good, maybe because there's no alliteration here. There's no rhyming either. But it does kind of sound similar to some of the others we had, like, what was the other one? Shave time, shave money. That kind of double pair sentence. And yeah, serious English, I guess to me serious can have more than one meaning, but I think in this case, it means like really, really high quality English. Like you will be learning some serious English. It doesn't mean it's not funny. It means that the quality is high. Casual vibe is, again, the opposite. It's relaxing, laid back. It's not serious in the tone. It's serious in the quality. So again, the meaning is quite good here. Serious English, casual vibe. And I do think that does encapsulate what I try to go for. I try my best to give as much value as I can in English learning while keeping it casual and fun. Hopefully I'm successful there. And the last one, tune in, speak out. That was tune, or Americans might say tune. Tune in, speak out. Again, this is a nice kind of pair of words, a pair of sentences. And I guess they're both phrasal verbs, which is a nice pattern as well. Tune in means to listen. I think it comes from the old days of radio where you would adjust the frequency to find the radio station. And we still use this phrase today with modern podcasts, to tune in, listen to my podcast. Speak out means to speak out loud, to speak up, to vocalize, right? So again, I think it's quite a nice one. You're listening to the podcast and you're speaking more. Also good, but I mean, if I had to choose one for me, I think I would say level up your English 1 episode at a time. Who knows? I mean, If you really like it, I could even adopt it into my speech at the beginning of the episode. I mean, let me know. If you think it's good, I can do that. My only hesitation is that I will always know that it was an AI phrase. It wasn't my own brain. So that's not so good, but let me know what you think about that one. But yeah, I think I'll leave it here. I actually don't really have anyone to say thank you to today because I've recorded a few episodes this week. So if you want to get in touch and just say thank you, the best place to do that would be at Apple Podcasts. Leave a review, or wherever you listen, leave a comment, a review, thumbs up, 5 stars, whatever your app says. It will mean a lot to me, and I will do my best to read it on a future episode as well to give you a shout out and the thanks that you deserve as well. Okay, let's end on a quote about advertising by Philip Kotler. The best advertising is done by satisfied customers. I think that's a nice rule of thumb. Again, it's not exactly like a motivational quote today, but it's very relevant to this topic. And it relates back to what I was saying before about plugging my content. I like to think that my goal is just to make the best quality content I can so that people will tell their friends. I think if you tell your friends about this podcast, that's probably much, much better than me paying some social media platform to advertise my podcast on social media. I think word of mouth advertising is more powerful. So yeah, maybe it's a nice reminder. I'm raising my pitch very high here because I know it's a bit cheeky to ask for a favor from you. But if you are enjoying this podcast, maybe you could tell a friend or tell someone else who might get value from it. And who knows, that they might even be appreciative. They might even learn something from this as well. So yeah, thank you if you can do that. But if not, thank you for listening. And I will see you back here next week, as always, for another episode. And as always, as I always like to say, level up your English one episode at a time. It's the first time I've said it. But yeah, thank you so much. See you next week. You have been listening to the Level Up English podcast. If you would like to leave a question to be answered on a future episode, then please go to levelupenglish.school/podcast. That's levelupenglish.school/podcast. And I'll answer your question on a future episode. Thanks for listening.